UFC 239 goes down this weekend. It's Jones versus Santos. It goes down in Las Vegas. And as I said, it's headlined by John Jones versus Thiago Santos in the main event. Amanda Nunes and Holly Holm take the co-main event spot. We're going to stick and start with Jones versus Santos. We'll go down the full main card, give our predictions. So I'm going to throw it to you first. Not about the fight exactly, but about the card.
Yep.
This is a pay-per-view card in the UK and Ireland. It's the first pay-per-view card that the UFC are actually going to do. I don't think they've ever done one in the past, but this is BT's new thing. They're going to put a selection of cards on pay-per-view. This is the first. Is it worthy?
No, it's not. Fuck BT. It's not one bit worthy. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And it's a good card. It's a really good card, but I'm not paying for it.
Yeah.
It didn't affect me going pay-per-view because I wasn't paying for BT anyway. So.
Yeah. Here's another question. Is any card worthy?
No, not when I'm paying for a BT subscription.
Yeah.
That was part of the deal. If you're going to make it clear from the outset that you're going to have some cards pay-per-view, fair enough. People, it's open to customers. You're being clear and honest with customers. This just feels a bit underhanded.
Bit money grabby.
Yeah, as in you have customers who will, as in Noel, subscribe specifically to BT to get UFC, and now he's been landed with a pay-per-view. And then you have the issue, like you said, it was some selected cards. So like the cards that aren't pay-per-view, what does it say about them?
Yeah.
So basically, what it was, you're going to have these big John Jones cards and McGregor cards pay-per-view.
Yeah.
So what about the other ones? Are they not worthy? Should I even tune in?
Yeah.
What's the point?
Yeah, it's weird.
What's your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I don't like it. I think like the fact that the UFC, I think, is struggling a little bit in Europe in a way. Like they put on cards in Europe and they do sell them out for the most part. But I think in terms of like, you know, selling pay-per-views, I don't know how well they're going to do. Just because there's a difference with boxing, I think, and with, say, WWE, is because when they brought their product out, they said, this is what we're going to do. We're going to have pay-per-views. We're going to have free TV. And there was a structure to it. When you bring out the UFC, and when the UFC comes to the UK and into Ireland, what they said to us was, you pay for this subscription and you'll get all events because, you know, you're staying up to this hour. So when you change that proposition to customers, I think that's a big problem. Yeah. You don't want to make the proposition worse. You want to make it better. And I don't think this makes it better. I understand having like Mayweather versus McGregor on pay-per-view. Of course, that's boxing. But I understand events like that where it's like it's not a real kind of it's
I know what you
different.
Mean.
It's
But the thing you have as well is with boxing, generally the boxing over here that's pay-per-view is where it's UK or Ireland stars who are headlining the pay-per-view. So there's a connect there. As in the UK it's generally Joshua, Dillian White, Tyson Fury or guys like that, and they're guys who you get a lot more access to over here because they're UK or from Ireland. Whereas with the American boxing, that generally wasn't pay-per-view over here. It might have been pay-per-view in America, but it would have been shown by, say, Sky or something as part of your subscription. Whereas now we're getting sold John Jones as a pay-per-view star, and we both agreed that he is a pay-per-view star in the US. But he's not a pay-per-view star over here. He just isn't. Because it's different if you want to bring him over here and fight him over here a couple of times, build his profile over here, and then market him as a pay-per-view star. But they're not going to do that. So yeah, to me, it's a money grab.
Sounds like a money grab. But onto the fight. Thiago Santos, is he worthy of this title fight based on what his resume has been at this weight class?
Yeah. I think you're going to have that discussion with everybody who gets matched against Jones now. Are they worthy? I think they are. I don't think there's too many people who I would argue shouldn't have a title shot against Jones, because he's just cleaning out the division, and you're going to have guys who probably wouldn't get a title shot if the division were a bit deeper. Yeah. But it's not. So it is what it is. I have no problem with Santos getting the fight. Yeah, like if you want to go by UFC rankings, which you know we have our problems with, he is ranked number 2 after Daniel Cormier. We know Daniel Cormier is not taking the fight, so I think it does make sense in that sense. But are we getting into the territory of a fight that happened not too long ago? Valentina Shevchenko fought Jessica Eye, and that turned out to be an enormous mismatch. And Jessica Eye probably deserved the title fight based on how the rankings are going and based on what her resume was. So do you feel like going into this one, and it's probably going to take your prediction into account, but do you feel like we're almost getting into the territory of John Jones is basically having mismatches at this point in his career? I think we are. I think we are. It's not sad to see because he's so good, and it's a lot of fun watching him be so good. But bringing more eyes onto the fight, it's not great for that. As in, people want to watch entertaining fights, and what can often happen in cases like this is it might just be a boring fight.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think we are heading to that territory. I will still watch it because I enjoy watching John Jones. I think he's a fantastic athlete. He's a special guy. Even though he definitely still has some of that Tyrannobol in the system, and he's fighting with that. But yeah, that's for another day.
It's just a few picograms. Yeah, I agree with you. And that's why I posed the question. I think that at this point in the division, it's hard to find really, really qualified contenders that he hasn't already beaten. I think Daniel Cormier is the big one, and he's beat Daniel Cormier a few times. I think it would be fascinating to see him at heavyweight. It seems like he's waiting to see if the UFC will pay him a bit more, which is rightfully so. Do that.
No problem with that.
You're probably making the same amount of money now against guys who like you're probably easily going to beat. Now, of course, Santos, he's not without skill. He's good.
Absolutely not.
You know, he is good, and he's shown that. I just don't think he's good enough for John Jones. There's always that possibility of a big punch or a big kick, especially in Santos's case, because he's a great kicker. Yeah. But I think it's very, very slim, the chances.
Noel has said it on here a couple of times, with guys like Jones and Silva at the time, you don't see the one coming that's going to beat them. Who's to say it couldn't be Santos? I personally don't think it's going to be Santos, but you never know. So, like, break it down for me. How does Santos get a win here, if he is to get a win?
I really don't know. It's going to be aggression, and similar to the first Gustafsson fight, where Gustafsson put John Jones in situations that he's never been in with the wrestling. Like, Gustafsson took down John Jones.
I actually watched that fight recently for the first time, and the commentators made a huge deal of Gus taking Jones down.
Yeah, it's huge because he hasn't been taken down, and that didn't necessarily win the fight for Gustafsson. He didn't win it with wrestling, but I think the fact that he made John Jones second guess himself, that was a huge thing. So I think if Santos, or anyone for that case, can put Jones in a position where he hasn't really been. I think a lot of people were looking at Rumble Johnson back in the day as being the guy who could have done that, because Rumble Johnson has a skill set where he'll come forward and land big punches. Santos, I don't know if he's that guy. He's a good kicker, but he plays on the outside. I think it's going to look like a typical John Jones fight against, you know, a fairly good striker, where John Jones is just too rangy for them. But if Santos can be aggressive, come forward, and not do what Anthony Smith done, because that was a big problem with that fight, where Anthony Smith just lay it back, and he was almost too defensive for his own good. And he did last. You know, he lasted the full fight, the 5 rounds, but he said it after how disappointed he was. He probably would have been preferred to be finished if he actually showed what he truly could do. And Dan Hardy was talking about this this week on the Inside the Octagon. He was talking about how John Jones makes guys fight John Jones fights. Yeah. And that's what happens. So if Santos can fight his fight, maybe he has a shot. Or if he lands that lucky punch, or, you know, lucky's probably the wrong word, but if he can land that, you know, Hail Mary. Yeah. I'll say that, but I just think it's going to look like a John Jones fight.
Yeah, I think what we've said so far is very much reflected in the odds for the fight. Yeah, Jones is 1-8, which is basically the same price he was to beat Smith. A massive price. You just don't see that price in MMA all too often. No. It's only with guys like John Jones, probably Anderson Silva back in the day. Thiago Santos 9-2 doesn't do anything for me. If you fancy John Jones to KO him, 6-4, 16-5 on points. So
he's been finished at middleweight. So I know the weight cut could be different, and John Jones isn't the biggest puncher, but ground and pound, wouldn't be surprised. So so looking at Tapology, I'd imagine everybody's going with John Jones.
100%.
No, it's 90-10.
Okay.
Yeah. Weird. 90-10. It's still huge.
Yeah, I'll take Jones by KO.
Yeah.
Ground and pound.
I'll take Jones by KO. Ground and pound.
Okay.
Yeah, same. Could be a submission. Co-main event, Amanda Nunes defends her title against Holly Holm. Holm has been a girl who has been floating around the title picture for a long time. She, of course, historically beat Ronda Rousey, and that's kind of where she made her name, aside from, you know, making her name in boxing. But what's your thoughts on this fight? Is this similar to the main event to you, or is it a bit more competitive?
I think this has the potential to be a lot more competitive. I think Amanda's still very much improving, and I think Amanda could make it look a lot like the main event. Yeah, we don't know. We don't know how high her ceiling is yet. Her ceiling to me is very high, because I think she's amazing. But I expect her to win. I expect Holm to give her a good fight, but I think Amanda's very underrated as well. I think the UFC don't do enough to mark her. I think she's very special. like she's an animal.
She's beast.
Did you see her during when her partner Nina Ansaroff was fighting in the last Embedded? She is huge.
Yeah.
She is an animal.
Yeah.
She's so big.
She's huge. Yeah. She's I don't know how she makes that weight sometimes.
Unreal.
Just talk of her going down. Fuck off. It's not happening. The problem with women's MMA is just, the talent pool isn't quite there compared to MMA in the men's division. And that's not a slight on women's MMA. It's just it is what it is.
And it's not around as long as the men's.
Exactly. It just is what it is. So I think the kind of percentage of error is bigger in women's MMA in terms of picking, because we just don't know. We don't have that pool of who Amanda Nunes faced. Like, she's faced loads of different types of fighters, but a lot of them are kind of like she was always going to beat them. Like Raquel Pennington, I don't think that was ever going to be competitive. Cyborg, huge win, but she's a kind of a power striker. But like, if you look at John Jones, for example, and you want to kind of compare these two fights, John Jones has seen like every different type of style that we've seen in MMA, really. And I don't think that's the case for Amanda Nunes. So you just don't know. Can someone like Holly Holm, who's a really technical striker, who can, who has good footwork, can move around,
stay on the outside,
use her jab, use her kicks, and just not get into a brawl, can she win that fight? I think so. I think she can win that fight. Do I think it's the likely possibility? I don't. And I think Holly Holm, she's not overrated, but I think, if you look at her losses and you look at kind of the way she's been floating around, I think the fact that she's been floating around the championship picture for a long time is kind of because of them big wins, like the Ronda Rousey one.
She had a big skid after that Ronda loss.
She did, yeah. And she clearly has some deficiencies in her skills. I don't think she's quite as well-rounded as a lot of the girls in the division, especially not Amanda Nunes. So I think Amanda wins the fight. But it's not like the John Jones one where I would be absolutely like, if Santos wins that fight, especially if he wins it in a way that isn't just a knockout punch. Like, if he wins it and he like uses his skills and
if he wins a decision, like a 5-round decision over Jones,
I would be like insanely surprised. Holly Holm, I wouldn't. I just wouldn't, because we don't know Amanda Nunes' ceiling, and everybody's talking about her being like the best women's MMA fighter of all time. This is usually when they lose. So I'm gonna go with Amanda Nunes, but I wouldn't be hugely surprised.
I think Amanda very much has the potential to be the greatest woman. The way she's going, she's heading in that direction. That trajectory.
She might be.
She might be. I think that's reflected in the prices: 1-4 on Amanda and 5-2 on Holly. Amanda by KO is even money if you like her to smash Holly into another realm.
Smash.
I'll take Amanda as well. I think she's amazing. I rate her so highly. So I'm going to take Amanda.
And on Tapology, it's 81-19. So Nunes 81, Holm 19. So that kind of makes sense as well with the odds. Next up, when I get the card, it is Ben Askren. Man, this is a great fight. Ben Askren versus Jorge Masvidal. I was looking on Reddit today, and someone said, put up a topic thread and said the Ben Askren effect, and it was just a list of videos from this event. And like, his video was like triple the amount of views of everybody else. Everybody loves him, or at least everybody is interested in him, which is the main thing. A lot of people don't like him, but that's always fun as well. And Jorge Masvidal is on the best run, maybe of his career, potentially, but definitely in the UFC. I think, especially in terms of like fan reaction, a lot of people are behind him. But what's your thoughts on this fight?
I think Ben Askren's a promoter's dream. I absolutely love him. I think he's hilarious.
How did Dana White not see that before?
His trash talk is immense. It's so simple and like just it's so cutting of what people like. He just breaks it down so perfectly when he's chatting shit about someone. It's a pity we haven't seen Jorge at a couple of the press conferences to go back and forth with him.
Because Jorge is good as well in that way. Like, he doesn't trash talk.
No,
he hates it, but he's fun.
He's fun. So it's a pity we haven't seen that. I think Jorge looked phenomenal against Darren Till. I think Ben is just going to have the style to negate him. I think he's just going to wrestle him.
And it's weird. I said he's on the best run. It probably just feels that way. He has 2 losses before the Darren Till.
He just has a bit of momentum now behind him.
It's weird, isn't it? But I guess the Stephen Thompson one was like a bit of a weird fight as well. I'm very torn on this one. Like, I think Askren should win it, because I think he has the style to do it, and historically Jorge Masvidal has struggled against this type of guy. If you look back over his career, like the likes of Benson Henderson, who's not the same type of guy, he's very different, but he can wrestle and he can grapple. You look at Habilov, similar-ish. Melendez back in the day. I just feel like it definitely is the style, especially because Masvidal doesn't mind grappling,
Mm.
and he's not the type of guy who has a sense of urgency to get back to his feet when
Yeah.
he gets down there. So if Ben Askren does get him down, he probably would fancy himself to try submit him off his
Yeah.
back, which can be a problem because you're spending too much time on your back.
Yeah.
So I think the style-wise it should be Masvidal, but then I just think, you know, looking back at the Robbie Lawler fight, Askren took a beating early on. He survived, but I wonder if that happened again. Like, you know, Jorge Masvidal might go for submission, you know, whereas Lawler, I felt, was kind of, I don't know, he was just looking for the strikes. So I'm going to go Askren, but I'm very torn on this one.
Really?
I'm very, very torn on this one. I just think Masvidal is a fighter's fighter, and if he does land a good shot, like against Hill, like he's slick. He's just very slick. And I think that, you know, if it stays striking, it's almost a mismatch.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm gonna go with Ben Askren, but I'm very torn.
Yeah. I think Jorge's a very live dog in this fight. Is he entering a purple patch now towards the end of his career, a little resurgence? I don't know. He had taken a couple of losses before the Till fight. I think Askren very much has a style where he can negate Masvidal on the ground. Like this, when you say this type of guy, Masvidal will struggle against. This is the top end of that guy.
Yeah.
We're looking at now.
You see what Maya done to him as well.
Yeah.
Like, he done great against Maya in terms of getting out of some weird positions, but like Maya is excellent on top, of course, and he smothers people. But Askren is a different level of smothering. You know.
Yeah. He's
just a crazy individual.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a really good fight. It's 61% Askren, 39% Yoke. As we're going down the card, it's getting closer and closer.
Askren is a 2-5 favourite, and Jorge is 7-4. Like, if you like Jorge, there's a lot of value in that. I think
I might look at it.
Askren's probably a little bit short, given I don't think there was any debate over the stoppage against Robbie.
No,
he did take some shots. He showed he has a chin.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm gonna take Ben.
I like it. Luke Rockhold makes his light heavyweight debut against Jan Blachowicz. What's your thoughts on this fight? Luke Rockhold, he's announced this a while ago, and it's finally happening. Do you like Luke Rockhold at light heavyweight?
Yeah. He's always said he was going to move up eventually.
He always looked huge.
Yeah, he's a big dude.
Yeah.
Looks a big dude.
Yeah.
So yeah. But again, it's this thing of moving up in class. There's so many different examples you can take from. As in, we've seen Anthony Pettis move up, looked wonderful against Thompson. I think that was a matchup that suited Pettis in that case. But then you could have argued that Holloway was a good matchup for Dustin moving up, or Dustin was a good matchup for Max moving up first time out.
So there's no rule.
There's no given rule for this. It's different fighter by fighter. So I think it's a very good matchup for your first fight at a new weight class. I think it's winnable for Luke. So yeah. Yeah,
I think Luke Rockhold's style, if you're talking about, you know, fighting bigger guys, I don't think it's going to be a huge problem. As in, like, he's not this like slick striker who gets taken down and smothered by people. So I don't think that's a bad thing. The chin part could be an interesting one because, you know, a lot of people talk about how Luke Rockhold gets wobbled in a lot of fights. Was that the weight cut? We don't know. We'll find out probably. But I think this is a good fight for Rockhold going up, and I think it's a sensible one because Blachowicz, he's ranked number 6, but he's not a world beater. No, he's good. He's not a world beater. So like, I think it would have been like, it wouldn't surprise me if Luke Rockhold, I'm not sure what his record is lately. I know he had a couple of losses. Yeah, Yoel Romero was the last one. Jesus, that was bad.
I remember that one.
Yeah, I love you. So it wouldn't have surprised me if he was on a winning streak that the UFC would have put him straight into a title fight, which I think is a problem, especially when guys are moving up at times. So I'm glad he's getting someone a little bit lower down so we can see where he is.
And Blachowicz is a solid guy.
Solid guy, but not like, as I said, he's not a world beater. Yeah. So it's a good fight. It's a well-matched fight. I like it. I'm going to go Luke Rockhold. There's, of course, all them questions that you said with guys moving up. So, yeah, we'll see how he fares. I'm interested to see if Luke Rockhold can go on a run at light heavyweight because I think a fight with him and Jones is interesting just because he has a name and he has a lot of skills. Yeah. And I just don't know if anybody else really has the skills he has right now at that weight class apart from Cormier. So, yeah. I like the fight. I'm going to go Luke Rockhold. I
think that's the first thing that's came into a lot of people's minds with Luke moving up is potential matchup with John Jones. It's like, what else is at the weight class? You have the storyline there with AKA as well, with DC. Yeah. That stuff. I think if he gets 2 wins, he's probably in line for a title shot. If he beats Jan and then gets another win, probably in line. Definitely. The fight is priced probably accordingly to the fact that Luke is moving up. He's 1-2 and Jan Blachowicz is 6-4. I like Luke at 1-2. I'll take that.
They should definitely do Luke Rockhold versus Anthony Smith if Luke Rockhold wins, because they went on a back and forth as well. So there's a bit of story there, and then it makes sense for a number one contender fight.
The thing with that though is if you do that, then you have Smith has beaten Gus and Luke Rockhold.
Yeah, you have to give him a title fight.
You have to give him a title fight.
You do. There's no way to avoid it.
You just pay Jones money to move up.
Yeah.
Because I don't really want to see Smith and Jones again.
Either do I. I don't think anybody does.
Nah.
And that's nothing to take. That's not taking anything away from Smith. Smith looked great in his last fight. Looked great. Michael Chiesa versus Diego Sanchez opens the main card. You've seen a lot of Diego Sanchez lately with the whole fights we've been giving you.
I've seen a bit of Chiesa, and he's actually one of the first guys I started watching.
Oh well,
yeah,
excellent. So so you're perfectly prepped for this one. What's your thoughts on the fight?
I think this is a really good fight.
Yeah,
it's a fun one. Yeah, I think it's a cracker to open the main card with.
Yeah.
Really fun one. Two crazy fuckers really just going at it. I was actually surprised that I'll open up with the prices. Chiesa is quite a big favourite. He's 1-4. Yeah. And Diego Sanchez 5-2. I'd be quite happy to take Sanchez at 5-2.
Nice.
But yeah, I think it's a really fun fight, and I'm looking forward to this one now.
Yeah, it's a really interesting one because like Chiesa will probably try grapple him, but Sanchez has some really great grappling, like really, really good grappling.
He just generally chooses not to use it.
He just doesn't use it. Although he did use it in his last couple of fights. But yeah, I think Michael Chiesa is going to be looking for the takedown. Sanchez is going to try keeping on the feet. It could get very wild.
I'm hoping it does.
I'm hoping it gets wild, yeah. I don't really know how to... I'm going to go Chiesa. But yeah, I'll go Chiesa. I just think Diego Sanchez, he's a little bit long in the tooth. He's taken quite a lot of damage over his career. And yeah, I just feel like it's going to be... I don't think it's going to be as exciting as you're hoping it's going to be. I think Chiesa is going to control a lot of it on the floor, but there's going to be glimpses of excitement from Sanchez. But yeah,
it's a teaser, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's one that like could be phenomenal.
It could be really fun.
But yeah, I don't disagree with you there. But I'm going to take Diego just because I love him.
Because love him. Yeah,
little head case.
He is a head case. Is there? I think there's quite a few fights on the prelims. But what's the fight on the prelims that catches your eye the most?
Jack Marshman is on it again, not necessarily his fight, but just we've talked before about his stuff with the army.
What's the crack? So
he said before they wouldn't let him out. I think he's finished in September, and obviously he said,
so he's going against it here.
Pretty much, like he said the army. He said he was given a final warning in that like if he skipped town again he was out with dishonourable discharge.
Yeah.
And then I assumed that he'd made an agreement then with the UFC that he wouldn't schedule him.
Yeah.
Obviously, they've scheduled him, and he's like, "Yeah, let's do it." So he's like, "Fuck you,
fucking
army."
Ruthless. Yeah, that's hilarious.
Better get a W again.
Yeah, he's finding a tough guy in Edmund Shabazian. He's good young fighter. There's a few fights on this card I'm really looking forward to.
on the card as well.
Gilbert Melendez against Arnold Allen. That is a fucking fight.
Yeah.
Holy shit. That is a great fight.
That's the one leading into the main card.
That is it. Yeah, that is. Ooh, that's a big fight for Arnold Allen.
Yeah.
He's on. He's a good prospect for the European scene, so that's a good one. And I also like Yadong Song. That's how you say his name. He's good. He's fun against Perez. So watch that one. But yeah, I think it's an overall really good card. It's just a shame they're throwing it on pay-per-view, and everybody should boycott it.
Yeah, brilliant card, but it's not pay-per-view worthy. It's pay-per-view worthy in America. It's one where you'd look at and you'd say, yeah, I'll pay me $80 for that.
Yeah, exactly. But we're getting at 3 a.m, so I'm not staying up to watch that.
Fuck BT.
We leave it there. So
apparently if you press this button somewhere here, it subscribes and you get all the notifications for the show. So hit that button there.
You have to click the bell though to get the notifications
here,
down the bottom.
Make sure you hit it and they get the ringer things because Rob didn't know. So it's the button there or there.
It's somewhere roughly around that area.